Hello, good morning, good
The
afternoon.
music's still playing in the background. I have some tab open with music on. So I'm like, good morning, but I can also hear like music. So I need to like just shut that tab off. Good morning, everyone. Well, we're saying good morning, but everyone around the world, it could be good afternoon, it could be good evening, could be whatever. As usual, we are here live, both on YouTube and LinkedIn. So tell us where you are calling in from so we can kind of see where everyone is in the world, because I think that's really exciting. Thank you for joining. My name is Debbie O'Brien. You should always know who I am. I'm only messing. And I have, of course, with me Simon from our team, from the Playwright team, one of the engineers working on the amazing product of Playwright. Simon, do you want to do a quick hello?
Yeah, hi, my name is Simon. I'm joining here from the wonderful but rainy city of Berlin. So it's good morning for me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talk about Playwright today.
Excellent. So everyone's saying good morning. We've got India in the house. We've got Sicily. I love Sicily. Belgium. Oh, so close to you. Poland, Melbourne, Australia. I love when the Australians. I did go to Australia for 2 months. I spent 2 months in Australia, traveling Australia when I was 22, and beautiful country. I love it. So yeah, I really love when I see the Australians in there. Dublin, yay, my hometown. Well, I'm Wicklow, but you know what I mean. Chile, Mauritius. Oh my gosh, Simon, would you like to go to Mauritius? I would love to go there. We've got the UK, France, Slovakia. Oh my gosh, like we're hitting every country today. This is so cool. The Americans are asleep probably. Nigeria, amazing. Sri Lanka. My family were in Sri Lanka. My cousins were there last week. It looked absolutely amazing. So it was another place I was like, oh my God, I want to go there. That looks incredible. Tunisia, I was in Tunisia. I like Tunisia. Estonia, Barcelona, bon dia. Leeds, we got Vilnius, Lithuania. I was also there for the conferences. I like Lithuania. It's very like Ireland, actually. I really consider Lithuania similar to my hometown. I don't know, just the people, the vibe. Ukraine, I also was in Kiev. Love it. Great place. Vietnam. I would love to go to Vietnam.
What is the time in Vietnam? It's later than our time, right? So it's probably like
4 hours more, 5 hours more.
early afternoon.
New Zealand as well. Oh my God, I want to go to New Zealand. Sweden. I was in Sweden. So this is just to show insane how many people from around the world are using Playwright. Isn't that cool? That is cool. Okay, everyone, we are here to talk about the VS Code extension of Playwright today. That is our theme. So we're going to try and keep things a little bit to that theme today. You may all have other questions. Feel free to throw them in the chat. We might get around them. But our focus today is VS Code and how we can improve the VS Code extension for Playwright. What are you missing? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? If you're using the extension, I would love you to tell me in the chat if you are using the VS Code Playwright extension. If you are not using the VS Code extension, I would love you to put in the chat why you are not using it. If you've never heard of it, that's fine. But if you're not using it because you don't like it, we want to know. Because
if you're using it but still don't like it, also tell us that. It's really important for us to have like an honest view of how you feel about it, because we want to make sure it's awesome. And if it's trash, then it gives us something to work on. If you think it's good, then
this is your chance to make the product better. That's the kind of cool thing about this. Right. So we need you to just be honest. So be honest and hit us what is hard. We're going to walk through. It is great. I know it is great. That's great feedback, but we want to know all the things that we could improve on. So do tell us, do be honest. And we will start walking through the VS Code extension from start to finish. So if you're already using it and you're really like, know everything about it and you're kind of thinking, oh my God, I know all this, don't worry, because we'll get to the end of it. And if there's anything then cool that Simon wants to show, we can show off any kind of cool things. And there might be things you haven't even discovered that you didn't even know exist. So go ahead, Simon. You want to go and share your screen?
Share my screen, the entire screen, and I'll move the stream over.
There we go.
So, right, so you're seeing my shared screen. Okay. Yeah, I will go and give a quick demo of the Playwright extension. and we will go like step by step and look at even like more advanced features. I think first thing to show is how to install it.
Do you want to zoom in a little bit, Simon, just because?
Yeah, of course, thank you.
Yeah,
Make it really more relevant. So in the VS Code Extension store, you can search for Playwright, and there will be a hell of a lot of different extensions, but there's only one that is the right one. That's the one that's published by Microsoft. And you can click on install here, and we'll install the extension. And the way this extension works is it hooks into like the test runner functionality that VS Code already has. And you should be seeing this small beaker testing icon pop up here. And ideally, what should happen is that in all of your Playwright tests, you get these green monikers, these bubbles.
Will there be a triangle? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the triangle. When you click on them, it should be running a test. That is how it's supposed to work. And it opens like the test results and all of that. A quick question, just for you in the chat. When you did this, when you installed the Playwright extension in your project, did you immediately see the triangles pop up, or did you have to go and change configuration for it to work?
That's a good question. So when you first install it, did you see everything running correctly, or did you come into any issues? I've had some issues where I've had to actually just restart it, and then like the test pop up. So that has happened to me a couple of times. Sometimes I think it's when we update the extension, it's like it's missing something. I don't know. But I've definitely seen no tests be there, and you're like, come on, there are tests in this project. Some people have said it worked out of the box. I like that.
Yeah, it's automatic. But also Timo is saying that he has this issue with extension, with config being shown twice.
Yeah, where is this one?
I've also seen that happen. I need to work on fixing that. Yeah.
This is good feedback.
I can reload and install add browsers, no issues. Restart VS Code. Okay, yeah. So that seems to be a common one. It works immediately. Sometimes I need to npx playwright install, even I already have it before extension. Having an issue with the extension where the debugger does not pick up my breakpoints. It says unbound. So that's interesting.
They're hitting us early, Simon.
How do you set up the debugger? Do you do this right click and then debug test? Is that how you debug? That'll be interesting to know.
This is interesting. I was not able to see the green button if tests are not saved under the test folder.
Oh, okay.
But that does make sense, doesn't it? Because it needs to be in the test folder.
I assume, but I mean,
in the config, unless you have the config separate.
Vivek, these tests that are not saved under the test folder, are you able to run them from the terminal? Is it only the extension that can't run them?
Yeah, that would be good to know. So restarting VS Code always fixes it. Yeah, that's the good old, turn it off, start again. Yeah. A lot of people, no issues. Mostly works straight away. Works fine for me. Works for me. They're coming in so fast. Is it true that all the tests has to be saved under the test folder only to see? That's the question, Simon. Do you have that answer?
I think that depends on what you have in your config. Let me open up a config here.
So in your exactly what Ignacio is saying. Yeah, this is what Ignacio is saying. You need to specify the path in your config.
Yeah, if the test directory says /tests here, which I think is the default, then tests are only detected if they're in this directory. But if you don't have that, we should also be detecting other tests.
All right, and he hasn't tried it from the terminal, so he'll check that and get back to us. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I would assume that so my thinking is if it works from the terminal, it should work from VS Code and the other way around. Exactly. And so maybe you're just saving in the wrong folder, and then it's like correct that we don't show the green triangles. Martin has an issue with page.pause not working. It doesn't pause. Yeah, that's an issue I know about. I'll look at that. Martin, what do you use page.pause for in the extension? How do you want to use it?
Okay, and as Dan points out, tests and eatery are default. especially when you're installing Playwright with the CLI, will ask you, do you want tests or E2E? But you could actually have whatever you want, and then just in the config. So that's up to you. Someone's asking about the update method. How do you update the code extension? Just go straight into that, because that's a common question. If we have someone new on the extension.
Okay, so the VS Code extension is supposed to update automatically. I think if you go to this thing, sometimes, there's this auto update check thing. If you have that checked, then everything's good. And I think if you uncheck that, then somewhere, if there's an update available, it will ask you to do that. Yeah. So
how can they see anything new from our VS Code extension that they should look out for when we update anything? Do we have a we don't have a release notes for it, do we?
We do have release notes for it, I think. Wait, let me look at the repository. There's a link to the repository here. And I'll move that tab over to the share thing. So there is release notes, but they're very minimal.
Because we don't do a lot to it in the sense of it's mainly UI.
Mostly bug fixes and stuff.
We don't majorly change anything.
No, right. But you could be looking at these release notes to figure out stuff. But I think for the bigger like user-facing changes, where there are not just bug fixes, I think we include them in the release notes for Playwright.
Exactly. Yeah. And we normally do a video as well to kind of like if there's anything major to show. All right, so we're going on to running the tests. We've updated Playwright VS Code Extension.
Now, there's a bunch of interesting things, right? When you just run the test by default, it just runs the test headlessly. And in this case, I think it broke. Not sure why it's not running the test.
You found a bug live.
Yeah. There's all kinds of these bugs, at least for me, and I'm trying to fix them one by one, but it's hard. Let's try again. Okay, so it's running the tests now. We can see that they're all run, but I can't see the browser, right? If I want to run them in headed mode, how do I do that? And there's multiple ways. I think you could just search in your command palette and search for show browser. And then there's...
I never do that.
Yeah. Some people do it all the time. Other people never do it. I only rarely do this. But you can do test toggle Playwright browser reuse. And if you do that and run it again, then a browser will open up. Let me just put this side by side so we can see both things. You can do it via the command palette, but the more ergonomic way is to go into this testing view. Oh, what did I just do? Did something very weird.
Yeah, you put the testing thing. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
What happened?
I'm going to reset this, reset location. The testing thing went away. I can move it back here.
Wow. How did you do that? What happened?
I don't know. But this is also not what I wanted. Oh God, I broke everything. Okay.
Now you've got the Playwright test, the testing icon. That's a VS Code thing. It's now inside the Explorer. That's very interesting.
Huh.
That's quite fun. Does that work? Can someone else do that? Is that just Simon having magic powers?
I think if you drag and drop it around, you can do it. I think it's reset now. Is it? No. Now the test Explorer is in the File Explorer. Reset location. Okay, I think this is how it is supposed to be by default.
How funny.
Yeah. Okay. So in your test Explorer, you can see a tree of all your tests, right? And you can see the tests in this file, for example. And then at the bottom of this, there's this Playwright drawer, and you can open it up. In the chat, I'm really interested in this. Everybody who did not know about this drawer, could you write a message? Just whether you've seen this drawer before or not. Because we have the assumption that people don't realize this exists, and I want to make sure.
I think everyone knows this exists. There's another hidden one that they don't know exists, Simon. That's the one that I think people are going to go, oh my God, I didn't know. I consider this the kind of like people know. But what I think people have a problem is if you scroll up to where your tests are, you will see, on the Explorer, you will see some are kind of like, these ones at the bottom, right? And it's like disable. Why are these disabled? What is it? Why does it look like this is weird, right? So if you've seen this and like explain this.
These are sets of tests or like projects, Playwright projects that are disabled. And so we don't show the green triangles for them. And for example, if you look at this examples directory, which is the test that we have open right now, both the Firefox and the WebKit projects are disabled. And if I enable them, you can do that down here, Firefox and WebKit, then running a test will open up like 3 different browsers, one browser per project. Okay, so people in the chat are saying they know about this pane. That's good to know, because we designed some of these features with the assumption that people don't know about it, but then I think we can drop that assumption. Okay. And there's a number of features in here. For example, you can use it to pick a locator. When you click on that, the browser comes to the front and you can click on some element to get a locator. And this locator is then shown.
There's the door, Simon. There's the door.
In this Playwright locators pane. And this thing is located next to your terminal. And the output thing, there's this Playwright pane. And that has the locator. And what's interesting is you can also edit this locator. For example, if you do, instead of feed the cat, you do buy some cheese, then you can see how the browser changes what is located, right? You can also detect to-dos or get by role heading, then you get heading. So this is 2 ways.
And by default, it's not copy on pick. So we can select this if we want to copy every time we pick the locator.
By default, you have to select this and do Command C to copy it. But if you enable copy on pick, then you can click around and the text will be in your clipboard immediately.
Just the actual, not the area one, right? The area one, you're still going to have to manually copy.
Yeah, I think so. The area one is still manual. Yeah.
And what's the little arrow beside locator and beside area? What is that doing?
That is the same button as this one. So if you have this,
but is the other one picking the area one?
It's the. I think that is the same.
It does the same thing.
Just the same thing, because whenever you pick a locator, we update both the Playwright locator and the arrow snapshot.
Okay, but if you edit it, it only edits the one you're editing.
Yeah, right. Honestly, I think that might be something we can fix, right? I think if you change this to get by text by some cheese, then we should probably be updating the one at the bottom as well.
Would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be good. Yeah, let me make a note for that.
See, we found an improvement just by us testing it out ourselves.
Let me take a look at the chat again. Okay, so people know about this drawer. They prefer the drawer than using the CLI command. Milan is asking, can we specify which tests run on which browser from the test runner window? Not really. I think that is a limitation of VS Code. Oh, you sort of can, right? When you have multiple projects enabled, you can do like a right click on your test, and then you can run one of them. And so if you just click on the Chromium one, then only Chromium will be running the test. If you click on the WebKit one, then only WebKit will be running the test. You can see it in the background. So
then you can also uncheck, like say Firefox, or maybe you're only working on Firefox. You can uncheck the rest and leave just Firefox, and then work through them. And now it's only going to run Firefox.
Right.
So you can, depending on your workflow.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else exists. So we can also record a new test, and this is interesting. What happens is it will open up a new file, And now it is recording a test. And now whatever you do in this page will be recorded into your VS Code. Let me put this like side by side so you can see what's happening. If I go to https://playwright.dev, you can see that VS Code now has that go-to line. And if I click on maybe the docs page, it will have the click around. I go back. Like all of this recording will be done. And when I'm done, I can click on cancel. And this is sort of the same. Why is it red? Oh, it's
red. I was going to say something is up.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, Simon, because we had an update recently, which we didn't tell anyone about. But we have made some improvements to Codegen. Is that improvement also in the VS Code extension part of Codegen?
Yes. So Codegen, whether you're using it from the terminal with npx Playwright Codegen or from VS Code, it will be generating the same code. Yeah. It's just a different place where we output it.
So do you want to show what's the new thing that it does?
Yeah, we can do that.
Because I don't think people have seen that. We haven't showed it. We haven't done it. We haven't told anyone.
What it does is that it generates assertions, right? How do we make that work? Can you tell me what to do?
Well, it should be automatic if you have the latest version of Playwright. Have you got the latest version of Playwright?
I think I have. Yeah, this is on Playwright tip of 3.
Okay, so if you have the latest version of Playwright, when you go through the page, if you're doing something, it should automatically add some assertions to the page. Maybe click on a header or something that's kind of not clickable, and it might. No, it didn't do it.
Why are you doing that? Let's figure out how to test it, and then we can show it at the end of the live stream. But it's true. There's a way of generating assertions now. I'm not.
We added this in that it can automatically add some of them to be visible assertions. So when you go to the page, you click on the next page, it might add in an assertion of to be visible. The heading is to be visible. So it's literally just released. So you need the latest version, and it does work in Codegen because I was testing it out, but I've never tested the VS Code extension. So I actually don't know if there's some issue in the VS Code extension or in your version or.
Doesn't want to do it for me. Maybe I'm also on the wrong version. Who knows? Okay, but this is generating the test. And if you click on this, record new button, then we will be creating a new file. But if instead you click at the recorded cursor button, we will just be generating to wherever your cursor is. We'll be opening the thing, and then we generate somewhere. And one way
this is a good question. When would you use the record at cursor like? Because you need to have it set up. So I've often had a situation where I go record at cursor, but then it opens up a new browser window and then it starts doing things. I got to delete things. What's the best workflow?
I think the best workflow is if you're writing a new test, use the record new button. And if you're extending an existing test, use the recorded cursor button. So what you can do, for example, is maybe I want to, let me cancel the recording here. Maybe I want to extend this new to-do, should allow me to add to-do items test. And then what I can do is I can run the test to ensure that my browser is at the right state. I think it ran it in Firefox now, right?
Oh yeah, because we selected Firefox.
Yeah, Firefox. And now when I place my cursor at the end of this, and I click record at cursor, then I can click around to extend this test. I might do an assertion that this has the right snapshot. I can cancel, right? So with recorded cursor, I can.
Simon, we never read our own docs. This feature can be enabled in the Codegen settings UI.
Good.
If only we read the docs. We need to enable it somewhere. Does anybody know where to enable it? Has anyone enabled it?
I don't think it's possible to enable it in VS Code. I will I'll see. I would assume that if we're happy with the feature, we will be enabling it by default in a bit. But we'll see that.
And Iraj says pause and re-record again. That worked for me. So pausing and re-recording.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the chat again.
Yeah, I think I've pulled up most of them. Can I use Playwright for my Electron app? That's a silly question. No, there's no such thing as a silly question. That's a great question.
You can absolutely do it. Let me give you a couple of examples of companies who are doing that. Microsoft Teams is an Electron app that's being tested with Playwright. Visual Studio Code is an Electron app that is tested with Playwright. I can't say for certain, but I would guess that Spotify is also testing with Playwright. So you can definitely do that. That is sort of like the only case where you can use Playwright to test a desktop application, right? Because Electron apps, they feel like a desktop application, but they're really like browsers underneath. There's two ways of doing that. One way is to use Playwright's Electron integration. That is experimental, but it sort of works, and I think the VS Code folks use that on Teams as well. But if you are a little more advanced with browsers, you can also build like a 15-line integration yourself, where you spin up Electron with the right arguments. I think you need to set up like the CEP port, and then you can connect it. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Not a silly question. That definitely works, and people are doing it.
Cool. I have this really interesting one here. Would be cool to have a CLI with Playwright Toolbox loaded in the Playwright pane.
A CLI with Playwright Toolbox loaded in the Playwright pane.
What does that mean, do you think?
I think the Playwright Toolbox is one. I think it's still recorded.
The Playwright pane is here with a tool.
Yeah, the Playwright pane is this one, I think. Yeah, and I think the Playwright Toolbox he's talking about is this thing. There's in the browser console, there's an object called Playwright, and you can use it to, I don't know, for example, locate an element, get by row heading, and it will give us.
Marcus, tell us, is this what you mean?
Is this the toolbox?
Because if you'd like this built into the Playwright under the locator and under the area and have this built in there, is that what we're looking for? So you can kind of like select it like you were selecting a locator, but select it like this.
There's also generate locator. I think this is interesting. If you do Playwright generate locator, you can pick some element from the page, and then you can do generate locator $0, and we'll give you a locator for the element.
Wow.
But it's a feature we also have in the UI, so
yeah.
Sometimes useful for programmatic stuff.
Okay, let's move on, and we'll see if Marcus tells us what he's looking for. What I've been missing, when I use pick locator, I get a browser opened. I can log into my app and then pick locators. What I'd love to see, that running tests via the green triangle reuses that browser. Oh.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I think what you're experiencing is an edge case. And let me show you something that I think should help you. I'll close all my browsers using the close all browsers button. And now when I press on click locator, we will be opening up a browser for you, right? So you can click a locator. And now notice that this is a Chromium, right? You can see it's Chromium. So by default, if there's no open browser and we need to open one up for you, we always pick Chromium. Now, I can go around here and actually pick a locator, get one. I have a locator now. Now I'm doing what you say, and I'm running a test now, right? So I'll click on run a test. And now think about what should happen.
It should open a Firefox browser.
It should open a Firefox browser because I have the Firefox project enabled, and my test is supposed to be run with Firefox. There's no way this can reuse the Chromium instance. Now, this makes total sense when there's a Chromium and Firefox, and I think it's very obvious that we cannot reuse the Chromium instance for this. But what you're seeing is probably a little more subtle. You're probably seeing two instances of Chromium or something, and we can't reuse them. And the reason for that is we we have this logic for when we can reuse a browser and when we can't. And that depends on the name of the browser, on like the kind of browser, is it Chrome, Firefox, or WebKit, but it also depends on some settings we give to the browser. And unless the settings are the same, we cannot reuse it, because it wouldn't lead to correct tests if we run the tests on the wrong, like a browser with the wrong settings. And sadly, when you do pick locator and it opens on any browser, that uses different settings than the one that most Playwright projects have in their config. I was looking at a workaround for that, but until there is one, let me show you how you can fix it.
Oh, there's a backdoor.
There's a backdoor, right? So when you pick locator, make sure that there's already a browser opened. So if you run a test first, and then you pick a locator, then you're in the same browser, and you can actually log in here and all of that. So
that's a good tip.
Yeah, that's a way of circumventing this new browser behavior. It won't help you with logging in. You're mentioning something about logging into some application. It won't help you with that.
But you might have a setup test run first that would have you logged in, and therefore you can run the test, be in the logged in state, and then continue.
Yeah,
that could work.
But when we run tests, we always sort of reset the authentication state. So something from the setup that will work, but if you logged in manually, that won't be available to your test, because also it won't be available on CI, right? So we try to make this close to CI.
I have a question here, Simon. If you deselect the pick locator at the top of the screen, is there a setting that prevents the toolbar from closing completely? Does that make sense?
So if I deselect pick locator, is there a setting that prevents it from closing completely?
Because look, it got
there's no. Let me think if we should add a setting. So if you want, I would assume you don't want the toolbar to close, because you
might want to pick another locator.
Yeah, you might want to pick another locator. I mean, you could always press on this button, but I mean, on the other hand, it might be better to be closer to here, right? And you could click on the record button. Yeah, I can see how that would be useful.
Like maybe there should be an X button to close it. So if it's in your way, you get rid of it.
But why would we want to close it?
Because maybe, I don't know. Why does it close automatically?
Not sure if that's intended.
That's a great one that you've just shown us, Peter. So let's look into that one.
That's good. So I don't think we should be adding a setting, because probably everybody should be turning on that setting. I will take a look at making that toolbar stay open. I think if I run a test now, the toolbar will close. I think it's important that when you run a test, the toolbar closes, because you don't want this toolbar to interfere with the test running.
The test.
But everything else, I think the toolbar can just stay. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Good. All right. I'm having an issue with the extension at the moment where the debugger does not pick up my breakpoint. It says unbound using TS. Is that just a...
Let me try. I think debugging works for me. It does take a little bit longer, but at some point it will hold on this. Why is it taking so long? Let's look at the test results. Okay, so it takes a little while, but then the debugger actually engages. This should work. If it doesn't work for you, I would love to fix it. Please open an issue in the Playwright repository and let me know what exactly your project is doing. I would think that maybe there's some problem with our source maps, because you always need these source maps from TypeScript to JavaScript to make the debugger work. So please open an issue and mention me at skm0tt, and I will take a look. This is something that we should
in fix. The Playwright GitHub repository, right? Not Playwright VS Code, just Playwright.
Yeah, Playwright VS Code, I think, says please open in Playwright. So yeah.
Cool. All right, this is a really nice one. I like it. MCP, integration with the extension to get the accurate locator.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets the accurate locator anyway, though, doesn't it?
I think the extension is capable of getting a good locator, or the MCP is capable of getting a good locator. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So at the moment, when you have Playwright MCP installed, let me just try it out and let's say, please open up microserver.com, and I will use Sonnet 4 in agent mode.
And even though you can't spell .com, agent is clever enough to know how to spell.
Yeah. We're using Playwright MCP to open up a browser, and the interesting bit is that this uses a completely different browser, right? It doesn't use the one from the extension. And in the background, I'm working on actually integrating these two well. So in the future, you can expect that this will be talking to a Playwright test browser, but the integration isn't there yet. It's an interesting problem because
yeah, this Eeyore asked this question.
Yeah. Eeyore says, I've seen your PR close without merging. Yeah. We do that a lot, that we open up PRs and we close them without merging, but most of the time that's not because we don't work on the feature anymore, but because we've discovered architectural, we've discovered a different way, or we discovered like new. Let me close down this Microsoft ad here. Don't want Surface Pro in my head. What I want to say? So we closed down PRs because we discover like new requirements and we changed the approach, and we're actually moving closer and closer. It's an interesting problem because MCP is like a new kind of protocol, and it's different to a lot of the kinds of APIs that we're used to working with, and it's also very fresh and new. So it takes a lot of time to figure out what the right approach is and how to do something in a way that will work for the coming years. But we're slowly getting there. And it also requires changes to our UI, because suddenly you will have Playwright browsers that are not just from the test runner, but there will be Playwright browsers that are from the MCP, and you will still want them to work with pick locate and all of that. So it's not just an architectural challenge, but also a user interface challenge, and figuring out a user experience that doesn't throw you off is surprisingly hard. I think, like, I've shown a demo of this like a couple Playwright lives ago, and they were always very magic in the way the integration engages.
Dan has a question here. Is the Playwright reuse browser setting in the extension settings? Doesn't that fix this?
No, sadly not. That setting is the same one as this show browser setting. Maybe we should actually rename it to show browser in the settings as well. So reuse browser is the same as the show browser, and at the moment it only governs over the Playwright testing browsers, and Playwright MCP doesn't even know that it's running in the repository that has Playwright tests. So all of that is a little hard, but we're slowly getting there.
I've got a nice question for you, just jumping to different kind of topic, but is it possible to give preference to the locators to use when using Playwright Codegen? For example, we've got application where we can use React components name as the locators. I mean, we don't have this setting, but I'm just wondering, is there something we should be thinking? Someone else answered saying use data test ID, and on Playwright page get by test ID, because if you're using your component names, what if your component name changes and it's now tied to the actual implementation detail of that component, whereas you add a data test ID, at least then nobody's going to know the developer's going to come in and modify that data test ID, but they might modify the component name and refactor it, and that's going to break your test, and you don't want that to happen. So it's much better to put in a data test ID and then use get by test ID if that's the kind of approach you're using instead of get by roles. Anything to add to that, Simon, in your opinion? Oh, we lost Simon. Well, he'll be back in a second. He must have lost his internet connection there for a second. But good question. But yeah, try to keep things as close to the user as possible. That's basically what we want to do. Welcome back, Simon.
My internet broke down. I'm not sure what went wrong, but it was gone. Let me reshare my screen.
That's okay. Live demos. I was just talking about, using get by role or using data test IDs instead of like tying implementation details, because that can be a bit dangerous in your future upkeeping of your tests. All right, let's move on to some other things. This is the next one. If we run the test, Playwright is going to close it automatically. Is it because of using page class? I think that's
if we run the test, Playwright is going to close it automatically.
That must be the pick locator browser window open. I think that came in a bit around that time.
Maybe. I'm not sure what you're referring to being closed. Is that the toolbar for the pick locator button? Is that the browser you're using to run the tests?
Okay. Dinesh, just rephrase that a little bit better so we can help you out there. Yes, constant innovation going on in the stream. That is what this stream is for. So loving this. So Dinesh said, why can't Playwright take the screenshot, which includes entire window like URL?
There is probably browser specific reasons for that. I don't know enough about all the browser internals to say with certainty, but I would say there's technical reasons for why we can't do that. But why do you want that? What are you doing where you care about the window URL and stuff?
Exactly. Okay. And we've had a couple of welcome back, Simon. And no, Simon, don't go. And we have a couple of the browser window, the browser window.
So the way I'm understanding your question is you're running a test, and then let me just try that. So you're running a test, and then at the end of the test run, the browser window closes immediately instead of staying open. And as long as you have the show browser setting clicked, that should not be happening. I think if you don't have show browser and you're running it, it shouldn't open the browser. Maybe your tests are not using this page fixture, or they're not using the browser fixture. I think in that case, all the settings we have don't apply, because only our fixtures are integrated well. But yeah, if it doesn't work, even though you're using the fixture and you have the show browser thing enabled, that is a bug. And I've seen bugs like that before. So I'm pretty sure there is some bugs around that. Open an issue, tell me about it, and I'm more than happy to fix it.
Okay, Vivek has a nice question here. Is there a way to run Playwright test with a specific browser version? Let's say a client is not ready to update the browser. So can we run Playwright test in older browser version while writing the automation tests?
I think there's two answers to this. Answer one is if you use the Playwright built-in browsers, the Chromium and the WebKit and the Firefox stuff that Playwright just uses by default, then we only update with Playwright versions, and like Playwright version 155 will always use a specific version of those browsers, and you cannot change that. But for some browsers, for example, for Chromium-based browsers like Chrome or Edge or Opera, you can bring your own browser binaries, and then you can install a different version of that browser on your local machine or on your CI. And you can, in your Playwright config, specify the tests to be run with that browser version. So you can definitely do that. It's just a little bit more involved, but you should be able to figure it out. Yeah, that is something you can do.
This is I don't know if you can help with this one. If we use the annotation in the test, for example, at sanity, this is not the automatically recognize the test. Where am I not getting a triangle icon?
So sanity, I'm reloading the window to make sure that it's starting fresh. Nope, works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's a bug. Please file an issue, and I'm looking at fixing it. Cool. You can already hear that, like, I think there's a lot of bugs in this extension, and this is definitely more bug-ridden than the rest of Playwright. And I want to make sure that all those bugs go away. So I need your help in sending me those bugs so I can fix them.
Here's one from Jimmy, but I'm not sure if I get it. I find drag and drop to a specific location quite difficult. Do you guys have any recommendations on getting into this? Where's the dragging and dropping happening, Jimmy? Let's see if Jimmy answers that.
Yeah. I think most of the time you can do, I don't know, some locator. You can do drag to some other locator, right? And that is the drag and drop API we have. I think that works. If you find it difficult, it will be interesting to know what about it is difficult. Does this API not work for you, or do you have specific, like, do you need a specific speed of dragging and dropping? I know that we had bugs with our drag and drop with regards to Angular. So Angular had some sort of a detection for drag and drop that did not like the way we emulate drag and drop. Maybe you're facing a similar thing. So if you are, let us know and we'll look into fixing it.
A couple of questions have been coming up, and I've just kind of bundled them all into one. So why Playwright is not supported to mobile automation testing, or any plan in the pipeline?
Let me close the screen share because we're answering questions now. Mobile automation is not about browsers, and Playwright is about browsers. That is the key thing that Playwright is good at. It's good at automating Chrome and Firefox and WebKit. And we have like this Playwright Android integration, but that's not about controlling Android apps per se. That is about controlling a browser running on Android. So it's still about browsers. And I think Playwright mobile automation is far away, not the right tool for it.
It's not something we're investing. It's not in our pipeline. So just if that's something that you need, then you will have to look at other third-party solutions that use Playwright with these kind of browsers. For mobile, browser stack, I think, is one of them. There's a couple of options out there, so look into that.
Yeah, but that's still only for testing browsers on mobile phones. And if you want to test native applications, I think Maestro is one framework you can use. There's a bunch of others. Yeah,
I haven't looked into it because I don't build apps.
Iraj is saying, yeah, you can do like mobile device emulation.
Exactly, and that's emulating. So what you would do in your Chrome DevTools, for example, and you go along and you emulate it to a mobile view. That's the kind of thing that we can do, which basically gives you a responsive design if you're using the browser on your phone, which I don't know. I don't use that many apps, Simon. I kind of tend to just like, because I can't find the apps I download. So I end up using on my mobile phone the browser version of it, right? So I think it's very important to test emulated of your version.
I'm the same, but all my friends use exclusively apps. Like when they can't install an app, they
I mean, banking, yes, I do use the banking app just because it's better. But anyway.
Yeah, I would want all of that to be in a browser.
This is a good one, tying into our thing on mobile. Is there a way to change the size of the browser when running your test script? So when running the test script, I would like to zoom out. So instead of 100%, but zoom out to 75%. Is this a config setup? It's interesting.
I don't think we have support for zooming in and out.
I think that's just a manual thing, right? Because we have the viewport set, and you basically want to see it 75%, you get a better view. But if you just like on your keyboard kind of change that, that's kind of a zoom feature rather than a specific Playwright feature, right?
So you can definitely change the size of the viewport before the test is being run, but I don't think you can change it during the test run. I don't think that works. Oh no, wait, you can. You can do a browser.set viewport size. And I think that changes the size during tests. Yeah. So search for set viewport size in the documentation. There should be something about it.
Do you know much about Flutter web apps?
If it's a okay, Flutter web apps are special. The Flutter web app, as to my knowledge, does not use the browser native elements, and it's essentially brings its very own rendering system, where the browser ends up just being like a 2D graphics pane that it's rendering onto. And Playwright has no way of really identifying the buttons there. Playwright does not know what is a button and what is just a pixel. So you will have a hard time with testing a Flutter web app with Playwright. Just technically speaking, you could probably use Playwright to click at like X, Y coordinates, and that will work. But it is a very hard test to understand if it consists of clicking at coordinates. I don't think that's a good.
And Vivek has gone ahead and done his homework there for us and has found out how to add the settings. I know he also sent me a message, I think, to say he has sent me a screenshot on LinkedIn, but I haven't had time to open it. But these are the instructions. So when you have installed to the latest version, then you run npx Playwright Codegen in the Codegen recorder, go to settings or toolbar area, and you'll find the option to enable automatic assertions.
Okay, cool.
But we don't have this in the VS Code extension then,
I have this in the VS Code extension. I'll talk to Dima from our team who built this feature.
So I'd love to know, Vivek, if you're using it, do you find it useful? Has it helped you? Is anyone also getting these automatic assertions and found it to be like something that you go, wow, I need this? I think definitely we should have the same across both. If you're using Codegen or VS Code extension, they should act the same, but it'd be cool to know if anyone's actually using it.
No.
This is a nice question, just moving completely different. What do you think about using Playwright for pure API testing?
So you don't do any browser testing, but pure API testing. I mean, it works. And I think our test runner is good. Our HTML reports are good. And like all of the test runner infrastructure is good. So you will have a good time. But if maybe you already have a different test runner for your unit tests and stuff, and maybe it's a better fit to use that. I think there's also different kinds of API testing, right? So sometimes API testing is just about testing the contract and testing if something behaves as intended, and for that Playwright is fine. Using any other test runner is also fine. But some people also think about like load testing when I say API testing, and Playwright is not the right tool to perform load testing. I think you should look at like Gatling or Locators, or K6 or like any of these load testing things.
I have a really good question here. Then we never showed it. How will I group the test case for execution? Say I want to execute only the sanity test suites and regression test suites. How to do that? We can do that in the VS Code extension. We never showed it, like filtering and
right. I can show you. There's actually some more stuff I want to show you on the extension. Like some like magic tricks.
Right, we've got a few minutes left, so go through all your magic tricks. Show us Simon.
Filtering. You can put in filters here, like and add sanity, and then we'll only have this one test that has add sanity. So you can do that. And I'm not quite sure about how this filtering language works, but in the Playwright terminal, you can also use the --grep feature. There's this one thing I wanted to show. It's this configs thing. We saw somebody had a bug where multiple Playwright configs existed. And in some repositories, maybe like a mono repo that has multiple applications, or like some more advanced Playwright projects, there might be multiple config files. And by default, we only enable one of them. If there's multiple, you will see this configs picker here. On projects where there's not multiple, we just don't show it. So most of you will probably not have seen this UI. And there's like three configs in here. I can switch between them, and each of them has like a different project section. And what's interesting is this cog icon up here. And when you click on this cog icon, you can see all the Playwright configs that we have detected. And you will see that a lot of them are not enabled. For example, it's different examples project here. If we enable it, it will also be in the list. And now we will be showing the green icons here. If I disable a project again, let me do that. I'll go to the cog icon and I'll disable this SVG OMG project. Then the green things go away. So if you don't see the triangles opening up for you, if you don't see the triangles being displayed in your VS Code, it might be because the config is disabled.
And you could like go for coffee, come back and then have a different page and just open a test and forget which config you have open, and then it could totally throw you off.
Yeah, it could. Totally. Yeah, so this is interesting. And then what you have set in here determines what you can select in here. And that determines what project is here to be enabled and disabled. I tried to come up with a better UI, but it's really hard to find a UI that makes this more intuitive. But I didn't really like it. Maybe I'll find something better. Yeah, and then at the bottom, there's some settings for how to deal with wrong ARIA snapshots. Yeah, so if you want to update your accessibility snapshots and you wonder why it's not working as intended, this is where you can change it. This is the same setting that in the terminal you can set with -- update snapshots or -- update snapshot method. Yeah.
Cool. And then can we add a retry option for failing tests on Playwright?
I think you can. I think in this test describe configure, you can determine retries per test file. And if you want to do it for the entire test suite, you can do it in your Playwright config. And that is in this setting. So you can definitely do that. Keep in mind that probably locally, you always want retries to be 0, and you only want to enable them in CI. Because it's weird if, I don't know, I just don't like it, it takes too long. Yeah, right. Because locally, it's far more likely that the test is actually read, and you don't want it to retry 3 times then.
There's a couple more questions coming in. We're running out of time. I'll bring this one up very quickly because I think it might be interesting. When I was generating a page object model, I noticed that the browser snapshot in the Playwright MCP skips the option of selecting a locator with data test ID and instead chooses skip by role or even XPath. Any thoughts on that, Simon? Because I think with the evaluate JavaScript tool, it can now actually see the test ID. So maybe if you specify that you only wanted to choose the data test IDs, would it actually go ahead and do that?
I don't know. I don't think you can specify to only use data test ID, but we should be using test ID to generate these locators. And I think like this locator generation aspect of Playwright is like full of heuristics. So it's always hard to say something with certainty. But I think if there's a test ID, we will be preferring that to any other way of locating the element. What might be happening is that you are using a non-standard test ID, or there's just a bug in Playwright. I will write it down and take a look at it. Yeah, if you care about it, send me an email and keep me accountable, and I'll reply to you and tell you.
Perfect. I know we didn't get through all the questions. I really tried to go through them as much as possible, but sometimes so many come in and then we kind of miss a few. So sorry if we missed a few. Do kind of follow us up later, ask us. You can reach us on LinkedIn especially. on Playwright Discord. We're also on Twitter, some of us. I still call it Twitter. But also what I'd love to know is, what else would you like to see on the Playwright Live? What would you like our next session to be about? This was purely about the VS Code extension. We did go and answer a couple of questions outside of VS Code, but what would you like the next one to be focused about? Because that would help us help you learn and prepare and answer your questions in a more in a way specific to your needs. So tell us what you're looking for, and we will come back next month with another Playwright Live focused on what you ask us for. So tell us in the comments and let us know. And I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining. Thanks, Simon, for showing us all the cool stuff. And Simon, do you have any closing notes?
I'm wishing you a wonderful weekend.
Yes, everyone. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll see you in the next live. Thanks, everyone, and bye.
Bye.